Hey y'all, it's Heel Heat time.
Hi everybody and welcome to Heel Heat. My name is George Coles and this is our WWE show for the week. Let's jump right into it, first with the so-so portion of the night. The stuff that wasn't good, wasn't bad, just was there. First off, Titus O'Neil versus Adam Rose. Rose picks up the win after some distractions on the outside with Heath Slater getting attacked by Adam Rose's bunny. This just felt like it should have been a main event or superstars type match. Neither one is really in a feud. Neither one they're really doing anything with. The payoff should have been there was a wrestler in the bunny costume, maybe start a tag team feud with Slater Gator versus Rose and whoever, but alas, we didn't see that. Just a throwaway match on what, as we go through, you'll see was pretty much a throwaway Raw. Next up, Rusev versus Zack Ryder in a quick squash. Mark Henry came down. We'll talk about later about Rusev coming down at the end of Mark Henry's match. Again, just twice in one night. The second time, it became kind of redundant. Now we'll go into the bad portions of the night. And one of the bad things was a historically bad moment. We had Rosa Mendez, Eva Marie, and Cameron versus Layla, Naomi, and Summer Rae in a 6-woman Divas match, basically promoting Total Divas. And it just was terrible. For the 2-3 minutes it was on the air and it turned into a total breakdown with no real winner. It was horrible. It was bad. It was everything that's wrong with the Divas division and how it's booked in the WWE, in my opinion. And keep it on the Divas theory. Then this next, unfortunately, this next segment featured some of my favorite divas. We had Stephanie McMahon bringing out Nikki Bella, who brought out Brie Bella. They were talking about Nikki getting a world title, or a Divas title shot, which brings out AJ Lee, saying she deserves it, which brings out Paige because she's a champion. We see Brie attack Nikki. AJ skip around Steph. I mean, just a little bit too convoluted. No reason for the Bellas to be in the title picture other than Total Divas and promoting that show. But again, they haven't deserved it. Natalya Neidhart has won a couple times against Paige, and I understand. Wrestling's all a story. Wins and losses really aren't that important. However, don't insult my intelligence and say that someone's a #1 contender because they beat so-and-so. Where you got a woman who legitimately has beaten AJ and Paige recently, who deserves more than anyone in this fracas other than AJ to be a #1 contender. I mean, it's just stupid to me. This is another reason why the Divas division isn't as good or as interesting as it should be. And it really should be. The Divas division should bring in a good portion of viewership. I did a whole video about this, about the state of women's wrestling, and it just frustrates me that there's a market there that the WWE either is too set in their ways to capitalize on, or too ignorant to capitalize on. Now, coming off of that, we're going to go into our question of the week. We get into some more fun things. For our question of the week from last week was, what is your favorite entrance music currently? First from Dizzlepup, gotta go with Evolution and Triple H. Motorhead is fucking badass. Mark Henry's music's good because it fits and sounds like a bad son of a bitch is coming in the ring, and Mark Henry suits it. Can't disagree with anything he said there. Next is from Joseph Hatcher. My favorite current WWE thing is the Usos because it gets me excited and it just helps me get ready for the match. I also have a couple past ones. Jamie Noble because I thought his theme was bad to the bone, and also New World Order because they're my favorite tag team, and also the Ultimate Warrior, Crime Time, the Hardys, and the Oddities, just because I thought those themes were cool. Plus the Oddities themes serve well for their gimmick. Can't disagree. I like ICP as a group, and I thought it was kind of cool, the Oddities thing. Like, next up's our friend Luke Norman. My favorite WWE theme is Randy Orton's because it sounds brilliant, and his WrestleMania 30 entrance was epic, with the artist there singing it. Next up is from Benjamin Me 19. I love the wide entrance when the lights go out, Jericho plug, and they walk out with the lantern. It's eerie and reminds me of The Undertaker's entrance a little. It's got that kind of mystique to it. I also think Goldust's entrance has always been entertaining. Always been amazing, I'm sorry. I remember his return at Royal Rumble 2002. It was my first Goldust encounter, and I was immediately encapsulated in awe. Both Wyatt and Goldust's entrance command attention and inform that these characters are worth watching. And next, from our friend Steve Tatanani. My favorite entrance song for a current wrestler is The Undertaker. Fits his character extremely well. When that gong hits, opponents are already intimidated. My second favorite is the entrance song is The Shield, Sierra Hotel, Echo Lima Delta. Their music was badass, just like they were when that trio was together. Someone we should credit for a lot of these musical entrances is Jim Johnson's. Definitely agree. Jim Johnson does not get quite the respect and adulation that he deserves. They did a WWE music DVD quite recently, where you got to see a little bit of him explaining what he does and why he does it. Definitely a guy they should start considering for the Hall of Fame. Last but not least, for my cousin John. Dude, I turned it off and watched this instead. The bad was really bad. Anyway, Roman Reigns Shield music makes me want to break something, makes me want to start rocking out of my chair, plus I can play it. John Cena's because I love the Rapid White Boy. Some short throwbacks are The Rock. When I turned on 2K14, I was like, if you smell... And one more Stone Cold's, when you heard the glass break, you knew it was your ass. All great choices there, all amazingly good songs. I think, I agree, I love Motorhead, so I am fond of their songs. The ones that I like are the ones that fit the characters the most. And the Mark Henry one, I think, with the 3-6 Mafia song, I think that's a perfect fit of wrestler to song. Kind of like Honky Tonk Man's song was a perfect fit for him. And to me, that just makes his character so much more intriguing. That and Randy Orton's is amazing because there's so much in the song that basically talks about his character without being over the top talking about his character, if you follow what I'm saying. It's not Randy Orton got voices in his head, it's I hear voices in my head, which Randy Orton plays up. I think those two are probably, I think, my pick for the best entrance themes currently. I'm always a fan of Mr. McMahon's No Chance in Hell. I always thought that was a great one. You know, just some amazing songs either way. And Jim Johnson is amazing at what he does. He does find a way to pair, 99% of the time, he pairs the perfect music with the perfect wrestler. Now next up, for the question of the week next week, or this week actually, is what wrestler on the WWE roster is most in need of a repackaging? We've seen him do it recently with Husky Harris, turning him into Bray Wyatt, Skip Sheffield becoming Ryback, Nick Nemeth becoming Nikki, becoming Dolph Ziggler. Those are some of the successful ones. Some of the lesser successful ones, Michael McGillicuddy becoming Curtis Axel. You know, they do it every now and again. There's some people I personally think deserve it, about a handful personally. But I want to hear what you guys think. Who do you think needs the most is in most need of a repackaging on the roster. Let us know what you think. Hit us up on Facebook. Hit us up on Twitter. Put it down where? Down there in the comments. Make sure you hit the like button too. We enjoy seeing all those likes. Next up, our good portions of the night. The stuff I actually liked. And some of this was actually tolerable, not so much overly enjoyed. The opening highlight reel segment, Y2J was supposed to be Jericho and Orton, but we got Triple H, Kane, and Rollins come out with Orton, talking about possibly taking Cena out of the main event and Night of Champions, which brings out Cena, which eventually brings out Roman Reigns, which sets up a 6-man main event for later in the show. Nice, good, effective, a little bit convoluted, a little bit long, but an effective way to hype us with 6 of the best wrestlers they have on the roster, 6 of the main talents they have, and putting them into one match at the end of the show keeps you wanting to tune in to watch that. Next up, The Miz and Cesaro versus Sheamus and Ziggler. I enjoyed this, and I think the Miz character is really starting to grow on me with the makeup artist, the stunt double, the whole thing where he had Sandow come in and distract Ziggler so that he could hit Ziggler with the skull crushing finale and pick up the win. I enjoy where he's going with this. I think the Miz has been more captivating and more entertaining than he's ever been in this character. Next up, Big Show and Mark Henry versus Luke Harper and Erick Rowan. This is the match where we seen Rusev and Lana come down, which was answered later on. Kind of out of order how I'm doing this, but I'm sorry about that, guys. Show and Henry pick up the win. Again, I put this in the light because there were some things I really liked. I'd like to see Mark Henry more in the role going against Rusev and maybe use Big Show for something else. And I enjoyed that portion of it. I didn't like the fact that we were continuing to see a talented tag team in Harper and Rowan be pretty much used to be everybody else's jobbers, I guess you could say. It's weird how the WWE does their pushes nowadays. It's like they push somebody to a certain level, and then they break them down, and then they push them again, and they really never give them traction. And sometimes when they break them down, they never are able to get back over. Case in point, a guy like Zack Ryder. Somewhat happened with Dolph Ziggler. It took him forever to get back to the top. Damian Sandow's kind of in the current similar thing. They absolutely killed the Ryback character doing this to him. So it's very frustrating for a fan, especially of an uber talented team like Harper and Rowan, who probably should have been tag team champions by now, but just aren't. It's a little frustrating, even though the match itself was good. Next up, we had a promo with Paul Heyman. What can I say? Heyman touches the microphone, it's always going to be gold. I dare you to go back and find a bad Paul Heyman promo. It's probably, out of the thousands of promos he's cut over his 30-plus year career, I guarantee you might find a handful. And that would be very rare. But the guy is a master. He sells matches better than anyone on the roster. Anyone that's been in the roster for a long time. Probably the best person at selling a match with just his talking since The Rock or Bobby the Brain Heenan. And just an amazing talent, an amazing gift. A guy that absolutely gets it and knows how to convey his message. Next up, we have Jack Swagger versus Curtis Axel. We've seen the return of Zeb Coulter, which is great. Great to see Zeb back on TV. We have Bo Dallas come out with some local Iowans, I don't know how you would pronounce it, people from Iowa that all have various things and how they were disappointed in Swagger and distraught by Swagger not picking up the win, leading more into the Bo Dallas Jack Swagger feud, which I think can be very entertaining. I think Jack Swagger needs this kind of a feud, coming off of pretty much being used to get Rusev over a little further, I think him and Bo Dallas could have something fun. Next up, we have Jimmy Uso versus Goldust. Goldust picks up the win. After the match, we see Jey Uso get attacked and further injured by Goldust and Stardust, further turning them heel, which is good. I thought it might be one of those things where they forget about the fact that they turned them heel in a week or two, but obviously seems like they're going to run with it. Hopefully they don't decide to switch gears another week or two down the road. And last but not least, the main event, John Cena, Roman Reigns, and Chris Jericho versus Randy Orton, Kane, and Seth Rollins. Good six-man match, good psychology with how they kept Cena out of the ring, and then when they finally let him in, he tore through everybody. Different situation than what we had with the Wyatt family because they're different enemies or different foes on the other side. Orton and Kane are established as main event stars. You're not going to hurt their standings by running through them. Seth Rollins kind of is being put in a role as an opportunist instead of a destroyer like the Wyatt family was put in the role of being destroyers. Opportunist is a little bit different. An opportunist can take a beat down and it not affect the character. You beat up a destroyer, it hurts their character. Imagine if when the Legion of Doom, the Road Warriors, were coming up, if they're running through every tag team and then Dusty Rhodes beats them up. It kills their gimmick. It kills their mystique. You know that they can't beat Dusty Rhodes. Dusty Rhodes destroyed them. That's the problem I had last week with Cena running through the Wyatts. This week it was a little bit different, a little bit of one-upmanship, a little bit, showing Triple H that he is what he says he is. Ends up with Cena looking dead on at the game, hitting on F5. I think it was on Rollins onto the table. Rollins or Orton on the table, I'm sorry. If for some reason I'm blanking out on which of the two it was, and I'm sure you guys will tell me in the comments which one it is, because I messed up, but I digress. Good way to end the show. Overall, kind of a very lackluster show. A very bad show, especially, and I meant to mention this in the bad segment, and I just forgot to write it down on there. The invitation for Michael Sam to come to Raw was just a way to get publicity, get national publicity. They had to have figured that he was going to get signed by a team, and they had to have figured that he's not going to be able to come to Monday Night Raw during football season. It's not going to make sense. Unless they just happen to be in the city that he is in, and now he's signed with the Dallas Cowboys. And I don't know if they're in Dallas next week. I don't know what their touring schedule is. He was not going to come. They were just using that for publicity, and it was a terrible publicity stunt. And that's what it was, a stunt. I imagine we may see Sandow as Michael Sam next week, or something of that lines, which will be total garbage, which will probably get them massacred in the demographic of younger males who will switch off the show and actually watch football, which next week's the first night of Monday Night Football here in America. So they're going to have to, and as you've seen, they tried to stack the show for next week with the cage match, Wyatt and Jericho. Yeah. So they're going to have to put on a solid show because of the competition. Now, coming from that, we're going to go into our ratings. We have a 1 to 5 scale. 1 is the worst, 5 is the best. 1's a Great Khali, 2's a Heath Slater, 3 is a Stardust, 4 is a Cesaro, 5 is a Daniel Bryan. I'm going to give this show a 2, a Heath Slater. While there was more stuff I liked on the show, the stuff that I disliked drug it down so badly that the show was very lackluster. It very much felt like no one put any effort into making the matches or writing the show or writing the storylines. It just felt too forced at times. The Total Divas push, too forced. Just the whole thing just kind of felt like a lackluster effort by everybody involved. There were some things I really liked, but overall it just felt very lackluster. But basically, that's all I have to say about that. My name is George Coles, and this has been another episode of Heel Heat.